Alright, so we're going to look at this next option, new set of problems to solve. And those are going to be the absolute value problems. Absolute value problems are also going to be your isolate and destroy problems. And these are actually super straightforward. I hope you'll think so. I like them. They are a refreshing change from the dregs of algebra that we've been doing thus far. Alright. And now here the destruction is a little different. And you'll see what I mean when we just kind of dive right into the problems. But it's going to be a little bit different than you're used to, because you can't just say, well, I undo an absolute value by... It's kind of hard to say exactly how you do it. So you just got to take a little bit more time and be a little bit more careful. All right, so let's talk about absolute value. If I asked you, well, what's the absolute value of negative 3? Hopefully you would say 3. Now, if I said, what's the absolute value of 3? I hope you would say 3. So if that's true, then if I asked you, if the absolute value of x is 3, then what is x? Hopefully you would say, well, since an absolute value of negative 3 is 3, and the absolute value of positive 3 is 3, then if the absolute value of x is 3, then x could be either 3 or negative 3. Does that make sense? Stare at this until it makes sense, because if this doesn't make sense, then nothing in the world from now on is going to make sense in this particular section. So what I did is I took whatever was inside the absolute value, and I said it was equal to this, or it was equal to negative this. Okay? So we'll see how this applies in our algebra problems. So if I say, all right, absolute value of 2x minus 3 is equal to 11. All right. If the absolute value of blah is 11, then blah either has to be positive 11 or negative 11. Just like here. If the absolute value of blah was 3, then that meant that blah was equal to 3 or blah was equal to negative 3. All right, we're going to do the same thing here. If blah, absolute value of blah is equal to 11, then that means blah is either equal to positive 11 or blah is equal to negative 11. Okay? The only thing that changes, you only put an absolute value sign, or let me try this again. You only put a negative on the regular number part. Okay? Don't go crazy and like start changing these or doing, just don't do that. Do not do that. That's where, I mean, I think what happens is people go, oh, this is easy, I just need a negative sign. So they just start sticking negative signs anywhere because they're busy studying other stuff, because the other stuff is so much more, well, I don't think is nearly as straightforward as this. So that's the point, as I really want you to be careful and remember that the negative sign, you only put one negative sign in the whole problem, and you're going to put it right there. Right there. Not over here. I'm going to put it. That was such a pretty arrow too. We're going to put it right there. Okay? So now what you're going to do is you're going to solve these as usual. So you've got, let me write it without all my funky colors. You've got 2x minus 3 equals 11, and then 2x minus 3 is negative 11. So we're going to solve for x by adding 3 to both sides. Excuse me. And then we end up with 2x is equal to 14. Divide both sides by 2 and get x equals 7. And over here we're going to add 3 to both sides and get 2x equals negative 8. Divide both sides by 2 and get x equals -4. So my choices are, not my choices, my solution is x is equal to -4 or 7. Okay, and that's how you solve these problems. Not too terrifying. Alright.
Oh, no.
Excuse me. Try this one out. So we've got 5 times the absolute value of 1 minus 4x minus 15 is 0. This is pretty much as complicated as they can get. So what you want to do is identify where your absolute value is, and you want to isolate it. You want to get them off by himself. So absolute value 1 minus 4x. What was I doing? Oh yeah. Alright, let me not do that. That was weird. Alright, so we want to get that by itself. So the first thing we're going to do is add 15 to both sides. So we've got 5 times 1 minus 4x equals 0. Now, remember, this is standing by itself. You want to isolate it. So don't go distributing a 5 or doing anything weird. You want to... I'm sorry, my brain's not working right now. You want to go keep that completely by itself. Completely by itself. Alright? So you need to get rid of that 5. Not by distributing it, because this stands alone. Divide both sides by 5. And now we've got 1 minus 4x absolute value is equal to 3. Alright? So that absolute value is equal to 3. So remember, we're going to take what's on inside. We're not going to touch it. This is sacred. Do not touch it. 1 minus 4x. In fact, you just want to write it independently so that you don't mess with it. And then this is either going to be equal to 3 or -3. 3 or -3. Alrighty. So we're going to do 1 minus 4x equals 3, or 1 minus 4x equals -3. Alright. So we want to isolate the x. So we'll subtract 1 from both sides. So we've got minus 4x is 2. Divide both sides by -4. And get x equals -2/4, or x equals -1/2. Then over here, we'll again subtract 1 off of both sides. -4x equals -4. Divide both sides by -4 and get x equals 1. So our options are x is equal to 1 or -1/2. Alright, now there's a caveat. That means, watch out. Warning. Alright, say you've got a problem like this. Say you've got a problem that says absolute value of x plus 3 is equal to -6. Don't get so confident that you start doing, oh, look, so that's equal to 6, or this is equal to -6, because that's not going to work. Okay? You don't want to do this. There's something very critical going on here. And that critical thing is this. This, you have to recognize the absolute value of something can absolutely never, ever, ever be negative. So if you have an equation that says the absolute value of something is negative, this means that there is no solution. They're trying to pull one over on you. Okay? So go ahead and not only have this in your notes over here, if you're keeping a separate page where you're keeping all your strategies, you want to have this. Whoa! Where did it go? You want to have this in your strategy list down here. And keep that with you, because this is really, really important. This is going to get you every time. they're going to throw something like that at you. You're going to say, ah, and you're going to try to solve it, and it's going to say no, and you're going to go, oh man, I knew that. All right, so keep an eye out for that and make sure you don't do anything goofy.